J.J. Abrams, thank you. Thank you. This movie is amazing. It is fantastic. Is there nothing that you can't do? I've been impressed with your writing and your career for a long time, several TV shows and several films. You have just done an amazing job here on The Force Awakens. I hope that you and your whole team are absolutely over the moon with this. It was great. Everything about this movie was great. You took elements of the old that were familiar with those of us who have seen this whole storyline and fallen in love with it for many, many years, and then you incorporated enough elements of new things in a new generation. It was it was just right. The humor that you incorporated into the script and the characters was just right. It wasn't, cheesy or, goofy. It was smart humor. It fit with the characters. It fit with the storyline. Um, it was just a great experience. Thank you so much. Listen, I saw A New Hope in the movie theater when I was 5 years old. It was the first movie I ever saw. And you have got me excited about The Force Awakens in the same way. I just got to say again, thank you, J.J. Abrams. You did a great job. There were so many moments in the theater when there were outbursts of applause and ovations. I want to talk about here in this video the experience of going to see on opening day The Force Awakens with my family and share that with you. So listen, if you had clicked on this and you have not seen The Force Awakens, shut your computer off and go to the movie theater and go see this film. Don't boo-hoo that I later on in this video talk about the movie and I spoiled it for you, because I'm giving you the warning now. I'm going to talk about the movie and the plot and things that happen. So just click off of this and go watch cat videos here for a few minutes. But if you've seen it or you don't care that I spoil the plot line because you haven't seen it, then keep watching. My family and I went to one of those really nice movie theaters that serve you dinner, and it was just a great experience. We sat down right out of the gate, the opening credits, got their applause. Everyone was so excited to see this movie come out and to see what J.J. Abrams had done with it. In the scrolling storyline, kind of that backstory that Star Wars gives everyone at the beginning of each new episode, we come to find out that 30 years have passed since the events of Return of the Jedi, and a lot has gone on. Some of it, in fact, most of it, and I think that this is one of the great things about the writing here, is they leave a lot of mystery and a lot of things for the audience to guess at. I'd made some predictions in a previous video, and some of them were just spot on, and some of them I know I screwed up. So I want to talk about those too, but the gist of The Force Awakens is that 30 years have passed. A new republic has arisen from the ashes of the Empire. Elements of the Empire have retreated to an unknown or uncharted part of the galaxy and are now making a reappearance on the scene with military incursions into the Republic to reestablish the government of the Empire. There is a first order of stormtroopers, and there seems to be a movement here to kind of retake the Empire and to eradicate democracy from the galaxy. So General Organa, Princess Leia, is now functioning as a general of a resistance movement to kind of stamp out the resurgent Empire. is doing that, and meanwhile Luke Skywalker is missing. No one has seen or heard from him for many, many years, and she's desperate to find him. So this is kind of how the movie opens up. It's a quest to find Luke Skywalker. Many of you probably already knew that on the run-up to this movie, that there was a lot of questions about where is Luke Skywalker? Why is he not prominently featured? Well, listen, the whole movie is about Luke Skywalker, except he doesn't make his appearance until the very end of the film. Again, another aspect that was perfectly done here in the film. It was so emotionally charged when, by the time we get to see Luke Skywalker on the screen, it was perfect. It was perfect. There was just so much in that moment. And again, not trying to spoil it here for you, Mark Hamill does not even have a spoken line in this movie. But I gotta hand it to Mark Hamill here with the expression on his face and the emotion in his eyes. That was very well done. You just really felt for Luke Skywalker by the time you got to that moment at the end of the movie. Of course, Finn, this is a character that we've been watching through all of the trailers on the run-up to this movie. He is the stormtrooper who is a renegade. He goes AWOL from the First Order. You know, what is the deal here? Well, Leia sends out one of her best pilots on this quest to go find Luke Skywalker. The movie opens up with him meeting with an older gentleman who is old enough to know all of the history of what we've been watching as the Star Wars fans. He knows all of the history. In fact, he says, when she's referred to as the general, he says, well, she'll always be royalty to me. So he obviously has an intimate working knowledge of who these people are and their background. He hands off to the pilot, whose name is Poe. He hands Poe some information that will lead to the location of Luke Skywalker, and it is at this moment that the First Order breaks in to the village, and there is just a massacre, is what goes down. The stormtroopers slaughter everyone in the village. They burn down all of the homes, and one of the stormtroopers has a gut check on what's going on. And this winds up being the character Finn, who really doesn't have a name. He has a number that's assigned to him, FN, and then the rest of the numbers that are assigned to him. He winds up, Poe actually turns that FN into the name Finn later in the movie when they meet up, and Finn has determined at this point that he is going to make a break from the First Order, but he's not a pilot and he doesn't know how. So what he does is he gets Poe, who has been captured by the First Order and is being interrogated by Kylo Ren. Now, Kylo Ren is obviously an incredibly powerful, Force-sensitive individual. There's been a lot of guessing on the internet as to who he is. My guess was that he is the son of Han Solo and Princess Leia, and my guess was right. I gotta say here, one of the cool movie effects here that we get to see in The Force Awakens is new Force powers, or Force powers that we have not yet seen on the big screen with the Jedi or the Sith and their use of Force powers. There's the scene in this initial opening action sequence where this village is taken when Poe, the pilot, takes a shot at Kylo Ren, who reaches out with the Force and suspends the blaster bolt in midair. And it's just hanging there, vibrating with power suspended, and the guards are marching Poe to Kylo Ren, and he's walking past this blaster bolt that's just suspended in midair by the sheer power of the Force that Kylo Ren wields. Very cool. Also very cool that Kylo Ren is able to, we get to see him interrogate using the power of the Force, pulling information out of people's minds, which he uses at several points in the movie, and he is incredibly powerful. Of course, he comes from the Skywalker line, so aptly so. Anyway, so this is how it kind of plays out. Poe and Finn make their big escape. When the vehicle crash lands, Poe is nowhere to be found, and Finn is on the run for his life. Finn is a great character. Kudos for his portrayal and the humor. He got a ton of responses from the audience, a lot of laugh lines. Again, the humor in this movie is just perfectly done. And he meets up with this character, Rey. Now, Rey is someone that we've also been watching through all of these trailers, and we're trying to discover who she is. Now, my guess in a previous video was that she was also the daughter of Han and Leia. I'm not so sure about that now. I think everything in this movie is pushing the audience to the conclusion that she may very well be the daughter of Luke Skywalker, which would also be a very exciting answer to that question. The movie does not answer this question directly. It does not speak to her parentage directly. But when you look at the arc of her life, you see a lot of Skywalker elements in it. She's raised in a deserted, barren wasteland. She feels like there's something out there waiting for her in her future. It just hasn't come to pass yet. She is incredibly mechanically inclined. And we also come to find out in the course of this movie that she is, no pun intended, a force to be reckoned with. She has incredible innate force powers that arise in the course of this film, and she has had no training. She's had no mentoring. She's had no parents, really, that we see or hear about in this film. She's been fending for herself since she was a little child. And when she gets thrown into this storyline, and then she is later abducted by Kylo Ren, who seems to have some sort of knowledge or about who she is or who she might be, because he has this immediate response when the information comes out that there is a girl kind of with this droid, and he is very interested in who this girl is, which makes me think he knows more about who she is than she does. I have a feeling that's going to come out in the next movie or be used to his advantage, unless someone else beats him to the punch. Well, I don't want to go through the entire plot line here, but we do see some incredible moments. I do want to talk about the interrogation of Rey when Kylo Ren is trying to pull that information out of her head, and not only does it not come out, but she flips the tables and she begins to call stuff out in him with the power of the Force that's just innately, boom, awakening within her. She uses mind tricks on the stormtroopers, and she escapes. Later on in the big showdown, because the First Order has constructed basically a mechanism that is basically guts a planet and turns the core into a machine which can draw the power from a star and then shoot it through the core at a series of targets. Now, in the course of this movie, the First Order basically wipes out the entire government. It's as if there was a superpower in the world that dropped a nuclear bomb on Washington, D.C. By the time in the course of this movie, The Force Awakens, the Republic has no central government because it has been wiped out by the First Order with this machine. And of course, we see a plot unfold desperately and quickly to try to destroy this machine. Starkiller. JJ, great use of the ancient, one of the kind of the first original names to be tossed about in when George Lucas was kind of cooking up this whole story anyway. So Han Solo, Chewbacca, Finn are all going down to this Starkiller base to try to disable it. Finn wants to get Rey, and he winds up being important to her because he's really one of the only people in her life who has actually followed through with the promise to come back for her. And of course, here is where we see in the confrontation between Kylo Ren and his father, Han Solo. Now, you know, I could be mistaken, but I would put money on it. Han Solo shouts a name. Kylo Ren is out on sort of a long expansion bridge deep inside of this Starkiller base. And Han Solo and Chewbacca and Finn are kind of planting charges in this thing to try to disable it. And he sees his son standing out there on the bridge, and he yells the name Ben. And you could just feel like, you know, all of a sudden, all of us who've kind of been in love with these characters and the story for so long, just your heart kind of starts to come up in your chest when you realize that his real name is Ben. And they named him, you know, after Obi-Wan. And we come to find out in the course of the film that Ben was being trained by Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker had initiated a kind of a Jedi Academy, and he was trying to reboot the Jedi Order. But something happens that we don't know what it is, and Ben turns and betrays Luke, kills a bunch of the other students, and leads a bunch of students astray to the dark side with him. Now, we don't see these other students in the course of the movie. They don't have a prominent role. It's just kind of flashback material in the course of the film. But this is kind of some missing chunks of that story of what goes on. And so there is a Jedi Order that Luke starts, but it is now disbanded and disrupted by the guy who now calls himself Kylo Ren. His master is some sort of alien creature that we only see hologram projected in to kind of give commands. He's referred to as the Supreme Commander, Snoke. Now, either because he's just an enormous alien, or because the holographic image is intentionally enlarging him, he's just huge. Whether that's because he is really huge, a huge creature, or because for intimidation factor, he enlarges his holographic image so that everyone has to look up at him. An alien creature with a huge scar over his head. He is obviously an evil character and seems to have some knowledge of the Force, because when he hears about the girl and her Force abilities, that she was more than a match for Kylo, he says, "Bring her to me." Which makes me think that the Sith have also awakened, and either that when the Empire, now this is where I'm guessing, because the movie doesn't fill in this gap. When the Empire retreats, whatever is left of it, after these final battles that play out into uncharted parts of the galaxy, is it possible that in these uncharted parts there is a remnant of the Sith, and this is where Kylo hooks up with this Snoke? I don't know. I imagine all of these gaps will be filled in slowly, as you know. They want to leave mystery here for the audience. Great writing, just a great movie. The showdown between Rey and Kylo and what happens there, just amazing, amazing. Kudos to all of the actors, all of the crew, to the writers on board of this. You guys did an amazing job. The movie looks and sounds and feels fantastic. It is a great, great movie. I'm so excited to see this new storyline play out and to find out the answers to the things that were left unsaid. Okay, so there is this big showdown in the movie between Rey and Kylo Ren. Kylo, whose real name is Ben, murders his father, Han Solo, on the bridge of inside the Starkiller base. An incredible moment where he takes perhaps what is a permanent step into the dark side. He is so gripped by a fear that he will not be as powerful as Darth Vader, that he will make the mistake that Darth Vader made by turning back to the good side at the end. He is trying to do everything that he can in his life to prove that he is a pure devotee to the dark side, and up to and including murdering his own family members. So I don't know. We'll see how the writing plays out, whether in fact Kylo can be turned back, or whether this moment was just kind of a threshold moment for him in his journey. But he does face off with Rey. The moment where that lightsaber goes flying out of the snow into her hands, beautiful, just beautiful. The whole fight scene, fantastic. And of course then at the end, her journey to go and find, and in fact she does find, Luke Skywalker, and that moment where she hands him the lightsaber of Anakin. The second time in his life that someone has handed that to him, and just the look on his face, the emotion in his eyes. What a beautiful movie. Thank you again, J.J. Abrams, for what a great experience. Again, just the audience, you got to know, the audience. I'm so happy that I went on opening day because, you know, Carrie Fisher got her own applause. Harrison Ford got his applause. Anthony Daniels got his applause. And Mark Hamill got his applause. And just everybody, all of the old familiars. In fact, early on in the movie, when Rey and Finn are trying to escape, and the only thing that they can think of is this old junk ship in the junkyard, which happens to be the Millennium Falcon The Millennium Falcon got its own applause. I mean, just everybody in the room was completely in love with this movie, and rightly so. You guys did a great job with it. Go see this movie. It is worth your time and your money. Go enjoy The Force Awakens. I cannot wait for the next one to come out.